Good morning, dear grade 9 students. Good morning, dear teachers. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this seminar for grade 9 MR series, Unit 10. Allow me at the beginning to introduce my colleagues in the studio, Miss Ula Al-Mu'i, English Language Supervisor, Tartus Directorate. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
And Miss Lina Ahmad, English Language Teacher, Damascus Countryside Directorate. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Welcome. And this is me, Abdul Majid Oghurli, Senior Supervisor and Coordinator of English Language. As a start, we are going to start with Unit 10. It is Module 5, Values and Time. Time waits for no one. This is the title of the unit. Miss Ula Al-Mu'i is going to start with the unit plan. Floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Now in this unit we're going to have a listening, which is a dialogue about leisure time. Then speaking, of course this is with the students in the classroom. They can talk about time management. In the reading we have a text about the importance of time, and with the vocabulary we will learn about vocabulary related to time. Grammar is going to be about reported questions, and with the pronunciation we're going to have some short and long vowels, pronunciation, and with writing we can have punctuation and capitalization.
Very good. As usual, we are going to start with the listening, and I always say that the listening part is the most important thing, especially with our students, since until now they have been examined with reading and writing, and the listening and speaking are neglected till now, unfortunately. Usually we ask the teacher to train their students about listening by making them listen a lot. In the exam usually we have listening twice. The first time we listen for general information or general idea, then we listen again after they are exposed to the listening for the first time to answer detailed questions. We are going to start now by listening for the first time, and the students are going to answer who, with whom, and talking about what. I'm fine too. What are you doing now?
I'm reading a storybook. It's my favorite hobby.
Why do you like reading, and how do you spend your leisure time?
Oh, books give me much pleasure and different information about different things. Mostly I spend my leisure time by reading different books.
What types of books do you like most?
I like science fiction, novel, storybooks, etc.
Nice.
Oh, I also like to roam in my leisure. What about you?
I spend my leisure time in gardening in my garden. I have planted different types of trees. It gives much pleasure.
Thanks, Tom.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
We could hear at the end the woman saying the name of the man, which was Tom. Tom was talking to a girl. The girl's name is Rita.
Rita.
It's not mentioned.
Not really.
Talking about what, Miss Lina?
They are talking about how they spend their time, basically, and obviously she's like doing an activity, a certain activity. She's in the middle of reading something, and this is what the conversation is about.
Yes. Now we are going to ask the students to listen a second time, and we have questions. Usually the teacher needs to show the students the questions they are going to answer while listening. Will you, Miss Ula, read the questions before we start the audio a second time?
Listen again and write true or false. Number 1, Rita is reading a storybook. Number 2, reading is Rita's favorite hobby. Rita spends her leisure time watching TV. Number 4, Tom spends his leisure time playing football. Number 5, Tom has planted different types of trees.
We're going now to listen a second time, and students are going to decide if each sentence is true or false.
Hello Rita, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. What about you?
I'm fine too. What are you doing now?
I'm reading a storybook. It's my favorite hobby.
Why do you like reading and how do you spend your leisure time?
Oh, books give me much pleasure and different information about different things. Mostly I spend my leisure time by reading different books.
What types of books do you like most?
I like science fiction, novel, storybooks, etc.
Nice.
Oh, I also like to roam in my leisure. What about you?
I spend my leisure time in gardening in my garden. I have planted different types of trees. It gives much pleasure.
Thanks, Tom.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Number 1, Rita is reading a storybook.
That's correct.
That's
He's reading
true.
a storybook.
True.
Miss Lena, number 2,
Reading is Rita's favorite hobby. This is very much true.
true.
Okay.
Number 3, Miss Sauda,
Rita spends her leisure time watching TV. That's not true. She spends her time reading.
reading. Number 4, Miss Lena,
Tom spends his leisure time playing football. Not really. He spends most of his time gardening.
gardening.
And now Tom has planted different types of trees. This is true.
True. Thank you so much. The following step is speaking. Actually, the slide here is about reading, but we always tell the teachers to have a speaking exercise before they move to the reading. Since this was a conversation, the teacher can ask the students to role play a similar conversation. We don't say to repeat the same conversation, because repeating the same conversation is according to the communicative approach, which was abolished in 1980s.
Action
And
oriented.
now it is the action-oriented approach, and the students need to role play a similar conversation about themselves.
Create something different.
Yes, and they are going to be real actors, not only simulators. Then we move to the reading. The reading text, usually the teacher asks a question before they read to prepare them for the reading, and after that we can either make them read while listening or to read silently, not to read aloud. I'm going to read as if a recorder was playing so that they can hear it, and after that we discuss the questions. Killing time is not a murder. Time is precious. We should never waste it in any way. People can spend a lot of time doing various things, but they can never get back the time they had spent. That's why most of successful people consider time as more important and valuable than money. We all should use our time in productive ways. If you master the technique of managing time efficiently, you can achieve anything in your life. Time management helps you to attain more with less effort. In the beginning, it will feel like a boring task, but when you do it regularly, you realize that it only helps you to increase your productivity. Eventually, this will encourage you to achieve more in life. Being productive does not mean that we have to be involved in multiple tasks at the same time. The proverb, killing time is not a murder, it's a suicide, is applicable for those who don't understand the value of time and doesn't respect it. People who say that they don't have enough time to complete their work don't really know how to manage time. For those here, an easy way to help them apply the do it now principle. D equals divide what you have to do. O equals organize your materials. I equals ignore interruption. T equals take the time to learn how to do things yourself. N equals now, not tomorrow. O equals opportunity is knocking. Take advantage of opportunities. W equals watch out for time stealers. Control how much time you spend on the internet, reading and sending emails, watching TV, or talking on the phone. Time is the greatest gift of God. Therefore, we should know how to invest it. Keywords. Miss Ola.
Okay. Now in this text we have some keywords such as productive, which means fruitful.
Fruitful.
Efficiently, getting good results without wasting time or energy. Attain, it means gain. Eventually, it means in the end. Murder, it's illegal killing of a person. Suicide, it's self-murder. Applicable, it can be concerns or related to and can be suitable for being applied. Principle, it means a moral rule.
Okay. Now we move to the exercises. Choose A, B, C, or D. Miss Lena, will you please
Of course.
read number 1 and do it?
So number 1 is for successful people, time is A, more important than money, B, less important than money, C, not important, and D, as important as money. Well, obviously it's letter A. For successful people, time is A, more important than money.
Thank you so much. Number 2, Miss Ola.
Okay. It is possible to achieve anything in your life when you A, waste time, B, manage time efficiently, C, eat well, D, spend a lot of time doing things. Actually, if it is possible to achieve anything in your life when you manage time efficiently.
Efficiently, according to ethics. Yes. Number 3, Miss Lena.
Yes, time management helps you to achieve a lot. A, with a lot of money, B, with less effort, C, with more effort, or C, but lose time. Time management always helps you to achieve a lot. B, with less effort.
Yes. Here are the answers. And the following is number 4, whose turn?
Okay, number 4. People who don't have enough time to complete their work have problems with A, working hard, B, earning money, C, decision making, D, time management. Actually, they have problems with time management.
Okay. Number 5, Miss Lena.
Time is a gift that we should know how to A, waste, B, buy, C, invest, or D, get back. It's definitely C. Time is a gift that we should know how to C, invest.
Exactly. Well, we are going now to answer right, true, or false, and in the exam, students maybe probably they have two ways of exercises, either multiple choice, 4 choices to choose one, or to write true or false, as we are going to do now. Number 1, Miss Ola.
Number 1, we can always get back the time we spent. We wish.
Yeah.
It's false.
It's false. Number 2, Miss Lena.
Number 2, time should be used in a productive way. Definitely true.
Okay, and number 3, being productive means to be involved in multiple tasks at the same time. No, it's false.
False. Number 4, Miss Lena.
In at number 4, it says, the time you spend on the internet should be controlled. Yes, it's true.
True. Here are the answers. False, true, false, true. Then we come to vocabulary exercise. Choose A, B, C, or D. Number 1, Miss Ola.
Okay, now these are vocabulary from the text as well.
Yes.
Is that rule, in this case, A, applicable, B, productive, C, efficiently, and D, multiple? Is that rule applicable?
Applicable.
In this case.
So number 1 is letter A.
A, applicable.
Thank you, Miss Lena.
Number 2, it's against my to lie.
I think we have a call.
Oh.
Taim from Tartus, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I am from Tartus. Thank you for this seminar.
Thank you
I
too.
have a question. The exam is the paragraph in the final exam from the on in the end of each unit. Do you have to memorize?
Do you have to memorize it? You mean you need to memorize or to write it?
He's asking if it's the paragraph from the end of each unit.
Yes.
If the ones in the exam are going to be from the end of each unit, you know, we have writing, so
Yeah, okay.
This is
The
a common
paragraph
question.
in the exam is going to be parallel, not the same as in the book. It's going to be parallel. So you need to learn how to write the paragraph in the book so that in the exam you can write another different paragraph, but it is going to be the same words mentioned in the book. But so that you won't be able to memorize the paragraphs by heart, we need you to write them. So we are going to bring the paragraph in the exam not the same as in the book. Another question,
Yes.
please.
No.
Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for calling, Tim. Thank you. Yes, Miss Lena, you can continue.
Yes, so we stopped at a vocabulary question. Number 2, it's against my to lie. A, applicable. B, productive. C, attain. Or D, principle. It's D, it's against my principle to lie.
Exactly. And this is the way vocabulary exercise going to be in the exam. We're going to have only one word suitable to fill in the space for the vocabulary. Number 3, Miss Saula.
she is a successful person. She knows how to use her time. A, applicable. B, productive. C, efficiently. D, principle. Of course, it's C, efficiently. She can use her time efficiently.
Yes. Thank you so much, Miss Lena. Number 4.
Most of our students high grades in the final exam. Letter A, attain. B, productive. C, efficiently. D, encourage. So it's letter A, attain. Most of our students attain high grades in the final exam.
Yes. Actually, if you are following us, here we have put some words that some are verbs, some are adjectives. In the exam, if the vocabulary missing is a verb, the 4 equivalents are going to be verbs. Number 5.
Number
Miss
5
Salah.
and the last one. I had a very day. I finished the whole work. So I had A, applicable. B, productive. C, efficiently. And D, principle. I had a productive day because I've done all the work.
Again here, we have adverbs and we have adjectives. The words are going to be the same as
family.
in the missing vocabulary. If it's a noun, they are going to be nouns. If it is an adjective, they are going to be adjectives, and so on. We're going to see the answers. Applicable, number 1. Principle, number 2. Number 3, efficiently. And number 4, attain. Number 5, productive. We move to another text from the activity book, the workbook. I'm going to read, if you
Please.
allow me.
Of course.
Hurry up before the gates are shut. Once a king and a lazy man named Hani were very good friends. One morning the king said, "Why don't you work to earn some money?" Hani said, "No one offers me a job. My enemies told everyone that I never do any work in time." The kind king said, "You can go into my treasury and collect as much wealth as you can, but you have to finish before sunset." Hani was so happy and rushed home to tell his wife. She said, "Go and get the gold coins and gems now." He said, "I cannot go now. I'm so hungry. I'd like to eat first." After lunch, he took a nap for an hour. Then, in the late afternoon, he picked some bags and went to the palace. On the way, he felt hot, so he sat under a tree to rest and drink some water. 2 hours later, when he wanted to move on, he saw a man showing some magic tricks. He stopped to watch for an hour again. On the way to the palace, he met an old friend and chatted with him for some time. When he reached the palace, it was already sunset time. The palace gates had been shut. Hani lost a golden chance because he had not learned the value of time. If Hani worked hard, he wouldn't be poor. This story teaches us that once time is spent, it will never come back again. Keywords, Miss Ola?
Okay, the first one, treasury, a place where treasures, money, jewelry, etc. is kept.
We hope we have treasury places.
We don't actually. Gems, it's precious stones.
We have a call. Haya from Tartus. Hello, Haya.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Good morning.
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Thank you for calling. What's your question, please?
I have two questions.
Yes.
Is the lesson came in the exam?
Listening, she means listening.
The listening in the exam, the final exam?
Exactly.
Yeah, the other question, what is the second question? Or do you want me to answer you one by one? Okay, for the listening now, it's done at school while we are having the academic year. In the future, we are working on having a final listening exam test. But now you're going to be tested only in reading and writing.
So no listening now, so to make it clear for her.
Yeah,
No
listening exam now
In the
for the
final
90th
exam.
grade. For this year. What's your second question?
Is the pronunciation came as vocabulary in the book in the exam?
Will you repeat? I couldn't get it. The vocabulary, what?
Vocabulary came in the exam. Pronunciation.
Communication.
I can't understand.
We're going to have an exercise for vocabulary, but what do you mean by communication?
Again.
We are going to have an exercise for vocabulary, Haya. I'm going to explain to you how exam is going to be. We have 3 parts. The first part is going to be reading, and you are going to have 2 texts. You're going to answer questions about the 2 texts. We have 10 questions, 5 for the first text and 5 for the second text. Then we move to the second part, which is use of English. The first part is going to be about vocabulary. How? You're going to have a sentence and 1 word is missing. You have 4 words to choose which word suits the missing word. The space, I mean. As we were doing in this seminar 2 minutes ago or 5 minutes ago, and I mentioned it. After the vocabulary exercise, you may have 5 questions for vocabulary, then you may have 5 questions for tenses, then you have 8 for grammar, and you are going to have pronunciation questions. For the pronunciation question, you are going to choose which word is different. You are going to have 4 words, 3 pronounced the same way and 1 is different, and you are going to choose it. Then you go to the third part, which is writing. In the writing, you have to ask about the underlined word, then to find the mistake, then to write a paragraph. The paragraph is going to be parallel to the book, not from the book. It's going to be parallel, and you are going to be given elements, tips to answer.
Hints.
And yes, hints. You need to answer the hints. If you miss any hint, you will lose marks. For example, if it is a composition about a trip to Tartus, to your place, the hints may be: when are you going to go? Who are you going to go with? What are you going to take with you? And what are you going to do there? And while writing the composition, you need to answer these 4 questions, and it's going to be a composition. Is this the answer to your question, or you have something else, Haya? Hello?
The correction in the exam?
No, you don't have correction, just to choose the mistake.
No,
Yes.
there is before the writing section, they have something like to correct or choose the mistake.
Yeah, only choose the mistake. You don't need to correct. Only to choose the correct. The mistake.
I'm understanding. I thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. Hope you get well in your exams.
Good
Thank
luck,
you.
Haya.
Good luck. Miss Lena, choose A, B, C, or D. Number 1, please.
In at number 1, the king and the lazy man are A father and a son, B, strangers, C, neighbors, or D, good friends. Well, they happen to be good friends.
Yes.
It's D.
Good friends. Miss Ola, number 2.
Number 2, the king told Hani to go into his treasury and collect as much wealth as he can, but Hani has 2. So in what terms? A, finish before sunset. B, return the money in a week. C, spend it all in one day. D, give it to his wife. So the terms were to finish before sunset.
Exactly. And I like the choice, give it to his wife. I like it. Number 3, Miss Lena.
Hani went home and told his wife, that's letter A, B, a friend, C, told no one, or D, told his son. Actually, he went home and told A, his wife.
His wife. And here are the answers. Number 1, good friends. Number 2, finish before sunset. And number 3, his wife. We continue, Miss Saula, number 4.
Number 4, on the way to the palace, Hani sat under a tree in order to have a nap, rest and drink some water, have lunch and talk to his friends. The answer is number B. He sat under the tree in order to rest and drink some water.
Letter B, rest and drink some water.
Okay.
Number 5, Miss Lena.
He watched a man showing some magic tricks for about A, 2 hours, B, an hour, C, 5 minutes, or D, a day. Well, he watched the man showing magic tricks for about B, an hour.
An hour. Yes. Number 6, Miss.
He reached the palace, A, before sunset, B, at sunset, C, after sunset, D, the next day. Well, it's after sunset.
Yes. And
C.
here are the answers.
Letter C.
It is letter C, after sunset. Number 4, rest and drink some water. Number 5, for an hour. And number 6, after sunset. Again, we come to the second way that may come in the exam. Write true or false. Number 1, Miss Lena.
Hadi said that he can't work to earn money because no one offers him a job. This is true. This is what he said.
Yes, but number A, this is spelling mistake. It's
Yes,
Hani.
it's Hani, not Hadi.
Oh,
But
So not
actually,
your fault.
yeah, it's my mistake and Ula's mistake.
Okay.
Because usually she prepares any check.
Okay. Number 2, Hani set off to the palace in the morning. That's false. He set off in the afternoon. So false, not true.
False. Number 3, Miss Lena.
yes. When Hani arrived at the palace, the gates had been shut, which was true.
True. Yes.
And number 4, Hani didn't get the wealth because he doesn't work hard. That's true. You can see that this
Hani
is
didn't
the moral.
get the wealth because he doesn't work hard. Of course, he's lazy and he spends time. Here are the answers. True, false, true, true. This time we have 3 true ones and one false question. We come to grammar. The grammar is about reported questions. Actually, when we report, we make changes. Usually, we change the pronoun, the possessive adjective and the possessive pronoun, Demonstrative adjectives, the near ones become
Far.
far. Miss Lina, will you please tell us some about this? You can here show us the reported questions, and then we are going to talk about what's going to be changed. Number one, how are you becomes
Adam asked me how I was.
how I was. So here we changed that how are you becomes me, and how doesn't change. What changes is the verb are. You takes are, but I takes it. In the present takes am. But when we use the past, because we go 1/10 back when we report, and we go 1/10 back not always, only when the introductory is in the past. If it is Adam asks me how I am,
Exactly.
but Adam asked me in the past, we should go 1/10 back. In this case, we need to say Adam asked me how I was. And I was, not was I, because it's not a question. It's not a question anymore. When we report a question, it becomes like any normal sentence, and we delete the question mark and we put a full stop. Number two, Miss Saula.
Okay, number two, where have you been? He asked me where I had been. Well, generally speaking, when we report a sentence, we pay attention to the pronoun. It changed from I to he or she or etc. We pay attention to the test. We go a step back in the past, especially when we have he asked or
you mean
said.
by step back, if it is in the present,
Present
becomes in
simple,
the past simple.
simple.
If it is in the past simple, we go to the past perfect. Thank
Present continuous, past continuous, etc. The words you have just mentioned, today becomes that day,
day.
or this becomes that, etc. Actually, they do have a box tables in their books. They can check them. About reporting questions, now because when we make question, we invert and we start with the auxiliary verb. Now the auxiliary verb had to go back after the subject, because
like
it's not a question.
in the normal sentence.
In the normal sentence, it's not a question anymore. So where have you been? He asked me where I, you becomes I, had been. We can't say have been because here we have he asked me. This is past, so I had
So
been.
have you becomes I had.
Exactly.
We put it after the subject and we go 1/10 back to the past where I had been. Number three, Miss Lina.
What do you want to do now? It will change into he asked me what I wanted to do.
We dropped do. So usually we drop do, does, and did. And if we have another auxiliary, it goes
After
after
the subject.
Here we dropped the do, and we said 1/10 back to the past. He asked me what I wanted to do. Number four.
Number four,
Miss
where did
Ola.
you stay? He asked me where I had stayed. Again, simple past becomes past perfect.
Yes.
And because we used it to make the question, it's not a question anymore, so we drop it. So he asked me where I had stayed.
He asked me where I had stayed. Number five, Miss Lina.
Are you happy to be back? It changes into he asked me if I was happy to be back.
Here we used if, because
We don't have a question word.
you don't have a question word,
And
so
it's
it
a
is
yes, no question.
no question. And in yes no questions we use either if or
Whether.
whether. So he asked me if, or he asked me whether.
Number
Are
six.
you happy becomes if I was happy to be back. Yes, number six.
Number six, do you plan to go back? Again, yes, no question, but this time with do. And again, do is used because we're making questions, so we drop it. And it becomes, he asked me if I plan. Do you plan? Present simple become past simple. If I plan to go back.
So to make it clear, we drop do, does, and did, and we go 1/10 back. So it is, he asked me if I planned to go back. Number seven, Miss Lina.
Where are your parents? He asked me where my parents were.
Here we don't use if because it is WH
A WH question. Yes.
He asked me where my parents were, and full stop, not a question mark. Number eight.
Can you help me to go there? He asked me if. Now this is again yes no question, and we have can. We inverted can to make question, so it goes back after the subject. He asked me if I could. Of course can becomes could. If I could help him to go there.
For dear teachers, what we are doing now is to teach grammar through context. It's a better idea. In the past, we used to explain the grammar.
Then we give examples.
Now, grammar is through context, so we show the exercises and we can show the students what's going on so that the students can grab and acquire it more easily than in the past. Reported questions, now we can talk about it. Miss Lina?
Yes, so in order to report a question, we can use certain verbs. We can use inquired, wondered, wanted to know, or asked.
So not necessarily only he asked me. We can see he wanted to know, or she inquired, or she wanted to ask, or she asked. So anyway, if it is a request, we can say she requested that I do something like this. Continue, please. The reporting verb.
And the reporting verb is in the past tense, and the tense of the reported speech will change as follows. There are certain rules, such as you have previously mentioned. We go one step back in time.
Yes. Miss Ola, please tell us
now,
about
as I was
direct and
saying, they
reported.
have these tables in their books, how to move from the direct to reported questions.
From direct to indirect to reported.
Okay. We start with the present simple. Where is the post office, please? The present simple become past simple or simple past. She asked me where the post office was. The past simple or simple past becomes past perfect. Who was that fantastic man? She asked me who that fantastic man had been. With the present perfect becomes again past perfect. So we have simple past and present perfect become past perfect.
Yes.
When has he met his friend? My mother wanted to know when he had met his friend. When the present progressive becomes past progressive, why are you crying? He inquired why I was crying.
Miss Lina, when we report a yes/no question, we use if or whether, e.g. Example.
Yes, so in a direct question, you would hear something like, do you know him? When you want to report that question, it's a yes/no question, so you have to use if or whether. It will change into something like this. He asked me whether I knew him. And this is another example. Have you ever been to Mexico? Yet again, this is a yes/no question. So when we want to report that, we're definitely going to either use if or whether. And definitely we have to direct the students to always remember to go one step back in time. Have you ever been to Mexico will change into he asked me if I had ever been to Mexico.
She asked me if I had ever been to Mexico. And are you
living here? Another yes/no question will change into something like he asked me if I was living there.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something. Difference between do you live here and are you living here. Do you live here means he is a permanent person in the country. For example, we live in Syria because we are Syrian. But if we are in London for 2 years and we met another Syrian there, we can say, are you living here? Because it's not his permanent hometown.
It's a temporary
action. I'm just clarifying for those who may say, why are you using the present continuous with living? It shows temporary action. Other changes,
we
Ms.
have other
Ola?
changes, like this becomes that, these become those, here becomes there, now becomes then, today, that day, tomorrow, the next day,
Or
yesterday,
the day after.
Yes. Yesterday can be the previous day or the day before, just
Yes.
like the day after. They can memorize these or just practice using them.
Well, actually, we we acquire them to say, if you acquire them by practicing, it's better than memorizing them.
Absolutely.
So instead of memorizing, we can say instinctively everything near should become far. So here becomes there, this becomes that, and so on. The pronouns also change, Miss Lena.
Definitely. So in a direct question, we might have the pronoun I. Might be a good idea to change it into she, he, or you, for example. Sometimes we've got we can change that into you or they. Sometimes we've got singular you for a person we are addressing, one person. I, she, or he. Sometimes we've got me, and we can change that into him, her, or you. If we ever come across us, we can change that into you or them. My, the possessive, will turn into something like your, her, or his. It depends. And our will change into their or our.
Yes. Thank you. Choose the correct verbs between brackets. Miss Ola.
Okay, the first one, he asked her if she spoke or speak English, because we have asked, so spoke English. We have to choose the past.
This exercise is just for practicing in the classroom. It's not an exam exercise. In the exam, you are going to meet four choices to choose one. Number 2, Miss Lena.
He asked me if I was or am British or American. The correct answer is was. He asked me if I was British or American.
Since the introductory is in the simple past, the verb should be in the past or past perfect. Okay. Yes, number 3.
Number 3, they wanted to know. They want to know. We have something different. They wanted to know whether we have or had a computer. So whether we had. They wanted to know, just like they asked, for example, or inquired.
Yes.
These are the answers. If students want to see them, then we come to pronunciation. Actually, pronunciation was neglected in the past because it doesn't come in the exam. The result was students get high marks in reading and writing, but they don't understand if you talk to them,
or listening,
and they can't convey any message. They can't speak. Even those who can speak, sometimes they make mistakes because English language is not pronounced as it is written. The U, for example, is sometimes U, sometimes A. So we need to learn how to pronounce them so that we can use them perfectly. Here we have short U and long U. U, U. Miss Lena?
Yes. So we are going to listen to 2 different sounds, short oo and long oo. We've got some examples. The first one is put, oo, put, that's short. Shoot,
yes.
Shoot, shoot, that's long.
Yes.
Look, that's short. Look. Juice, 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 that's long. Full, full, it's short. And fool, fool, it's long. Butcher, that's short. School, that's long. Push, it's short. And soup, that's long.
Well, we move to writing. Writing is important, as well as reading, as well as speaking, as well as listening. For our students in the writing, since they are going to have a paragraph not the same as in the book, they need to learn how to write sentences from the beginning of the year. If they didn't, now they can start from now till the exam.
They still have time.
Yeah, they still have time to learn how to write sentences, because a paragraph is a composition of sentences. If you know how to write a sentence, you know how to write a paragraph. And teacher's role is to teach them how to write a sentence. And I wanted to have an exercise in the exam about write sentences about the following words, but I was not able to have that question. It's God's will in the end, but I beg teachers to teach their students how to write sentences, because they cannot write a paragraph without having the knowledge how to write a sentence. Miss Ola, floor is yours.
Now here in the book they have a task which is to rewrite the following paragraph using correct punctuation and capitalization. So we have some words that should be capitalized, but they are actually with small letters, so they have to pay attention to that. If there is a comma, we need to use it. If there is a full stop, they need to put the full stop.
Yes, but instead of teaching them through a paragraph, when the teacher teaches the students how to write a sentence, the teacher can tell them that names are capitalized.
Of course.
Adjectives derived from nouns are capitalized. He can teach them while writing the sentence.
Of course.
And after students have mistakes in their sentences and the teacher corrects them, the teacher tells them why they are mistakes, and students learn capitalization and punctuation, because in every sentence they need to use capitalization and punctuation. Yes, continue please.
Okay, now this is a paragraph. Let's read the paragraph. It was Dania's 15th birthday. Here it starts with a small letter. Of course, it needs to be capitalized because it's the beginning of a sentence. She didn't expect us, but her mother was in business. So she, again, the S should be capitalized. She helped us organize this day.
Should be capitalized because it comes after a full stop.
Of course, of course.
After a full stop, the first sentence, we start a sentence with capital letter. After the full stop, we use capital letter. After question marks, we use capital letter. After exclamation marks, we use capital letter. So the teachers need to tell the students this. At the beginning of a sentence, after full stops, and after question marks, and after exclamation marks. But after commas, small letter. Yeah,
and I've seen some misunderstandings that some students start the line with capital letter. No, it's not the beginning of the line.
It's not the beginning of the line.
No,
the beginning of the sentence.
Exactly. So she helped us. She, S, capital letter. Now Dania, this is a proper name, it starts with capital letter.
At the same time, it comes after the full stop.
Yes,
so in both cases, it should be capital.
And the sentence ends with a full stop after anything. Dania didn't guess anything. First, her mother sent Dania, again Dania capital letter D, to the store. At the same time, we were preparing her room for festival. There were a lot of balls and gifts. There were, again, T. T should be capitalized, and the end of the sentence should be finished with a full stop. So after gifts, we have a full stop. For 15 minutes, we managed to arrange everything just fine, comma. But our plan failed. While we were preparing her room, again, comma, because the idea is not finished yet, she saw us through the windows, and full stop. She was impressed by our preparations. Again, she, we have a capital letter with S.
Yes.
She remembers this birthday, again she with capital letter, as the most positive and enjoyable moment, and we end with a full stop.
Yes. Let's see what you corrected. These are the correction words, the corrected words. 8, S, S, D, full stop, D, T, comma. Usually before but we use a comma, and when we have two long sentences or parts of a sentence, we use a comma to take a breath. Usually the comma is to help us to know where to take a breath, and while reading, when we see a comma, we stop, take a breath, and we continue. Then we have S, and finally full stop. We have a story about...
It's kind of something like science, social studies, about the history of time management.
Well, Miss Lina, will you please read it?
So since the whole module or unit is about time, so it's only proper that we learn about different ways of measuring time throughout history. In social studies today we're going to learn about the history of time measurement. Ancient humans used simple observation to dictate the time. They used the stars to guide them through the change of day and seasons. Then the sundial was developed. It was the first solar-powered clock.
So we had the sundial at the beginning, we could know, and we have a picture of the sundial. Usually while the sun is moving, it shows a shadow on a place, and when this shadow comes to this place, people can know what time it is. Actually, this worked only in the daytime.
Of course.
At night,
No, you don't have a
we
sun.
didn't have a sun, so we didn't know the time during the night because we didn't have this shadow. We move, Miss Ola, will you please continue?
Now with the Egyptians, they created four-sided obelisks that throw away a shadow on the ground to show what time of day it was. Now it's like a column, a very high one, to show again it's
Like a
about
pillar,
the same
a
technique.
pillar.
Yes,
With four sides.
almost the same technique, but with something bigger. Now the water clock was created by the ancient Greeks, and it was used to keep track of the hours of night time, because as we have said, when we don't have a sun, we need something to know the time while it's night. It was used to keep track of the hours of night time, but could be used in the day as well. So it could be used in the day and the night.
We have pictures of the obelisk, and we have a picture of the water clock. We move to the hourglass. Miss Lena.
Yes, so the hourglass is yet another piece which was made from two separate glass bulbs that had been rounded. They were connected with a narrow neck made of glass between the two bulbs. And there is obviously a picture of an hourglass.
The sand.
So they used the
to move.
sand to tell the time.
Yes.
And it's popular nowadays, by the way.
Yeah,
People like to use it just for fun. Yeah.
For fun and the kind of something
Decoration, maybe.
for decoration, yes. Before we wrap up, the importance of time. Actually, while producing, giving, preparing for the seminar, it's very important for us to stick to the time available. It's 1 hour, so we need to finish
Of course.
in time. And since we have a schedule or a schedule in British English, we can say on time. Before we end, if you have anything to tell our students, any advice, Miss Ola?
Well, the only advice that use your time efficiently, and you still have the time just to practice writing. This is the one thing that might be a little bit, let's say, scary, or if there is something confusing for them. Yes,
really.
writing, but you still have time. You can start writing sentences and you can do it in the exam. Just relax, things are going to be very good in the exam.
All I have to say is the usual proverb, practice makes perfect. So I would highly suggest for the students to practice as much as they can and use their time wisely.
Thank you. My advice, actually a lot of people say, why don't you use Arabic while teaching? Because we cannot understand. I can say the reason that you cannot understand us, not all of you, some of you cannot understand us because we keep saying it in English, because you are used to learn English through Arabic, which is not good. If you learned by English, pure English, you would be able to follow us. And we insist on this, and we want you to learn English only in English. And I hope teachers who are following us work on teaching the students how to write sentences, because while teaching them, I mean by how to write, not to say put this and put that. Ask them to write a sentence. While you are giving them a tense, for example, Say, I want you to write a sentence according to the simple present tense, and later on when the students bring their sentences, the teacher can correct them for them and can tell them why it is a mistake. From these mistakes, the students will learn the correction and will be able to write. In the end, allow me to thank my colleagues in the studio, Ms. Ula Al-Mou'i, English Language Supervisor, Tartus Directorate. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Lina Ahmad, English Language Teacher, Damascus Countryside Directorate. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having us today.
And thanks for everyone who was watching and following us. This is me, Abdul Majid Ogherli, Senior Supervisor and Coordinator of English Curriculum. Hope you got benefit from everything we produced in the past and produced in this seminar, this finished seminar. Thank you and bye-bye.